Notification.
Good afternoon, friends. We come to you live with breaking news just about an hour and a half ago. Shooting at a temple in West Bloomfield, Michigan. There's reports that security on scene had an exchange of gunfire with the perp, who was at one point still on the loose. Now we have conflicting reports that he's been shot and is in custody. Again, 12:30 West Bloomfield, Michigan time, Temple, Israel, was the target of a ramming of some sort. The building, as we could see here, smoke is coming out of the roof. Ed, your thoughts?
Well, I'm getting conflicting reports from you then, because I just heard from the news that he has been reported dead at the scene.
Yeah.
And so this is a Jewish synagogue in Michigan. There's no information about the shooter as of yet. That the armed security at the synagogue exchanged gunfire with him, and then he rammed his vehicle into the synagogue. And for the most part, the synagogue was mostly empty, as is being reported.
So conflicting, as what happens in all of these active shooting situations, conflicting reporting. I went right straight to local people down on the ground. Some folks said that this is a kindergarten through 12th grade community center or a school and so forth. I'm trying to see where we could see if the car, it looks like there was a couple of entry points where it was potentially possible, like right here where my cursor is. You see the smoke coming out of there. But there was parents coming to pick up kids. I saw them getting frisked at a local news channel. I have it written down.
Yeah, look at the fire coming out of that front door over to the left.
Yeah, so it looks like there's barricades here, so you can't drive a car up. But
or maybe around it.
Yeah, something. Well, it looks like there's three, and then here, it looks like you can get up over here. Yeah, very concerning. In Bloomfield, Michigan, 12:30 Eastern time. They're on the same time zone as us, I believe, or 12:30 their time, right? Michigan's on, I think they're on East.
Well, Detroit's on East Coast.
Yeah, Dave's Raiders in Ohio. Yes. Okay. So, not something that we like to report on, but this is the second one of the day. We had another incident that happened. Perpetrator went into a university.
Old Dominion.
Yeah, Old Dominion in Virginia, and started opening fire, and people were injured, but there was no casualties reported. We don't have any of the numbers here. So, Ed, I wanted to go to you because I know you've written several papers and articles and so forth on active shooting. And we always talked about securing locations that are hard targets. Now that Israel is at war with Iran, we're involved in it. Now, more than ever, is a time to shore up these targets, no?
Oh, harden potential targets. Yeah, you can see that they had attempted to harden the target from vehicle attacks with the engineering structures that were placed in front of the entrances around the building, but there may have been some deficiencies in that to allow the vehicle to get around it and into the building. So, the last I saw were some children being escorted back into a building at this facility. And, we always talk about these incidents, whether it's K through 12 or your colleges, how we need to harden these targets. You have to ask yourself, how did in the Old Dominion case, how did that perpetrator get that firearm into that hall where two people were shot, and he was, well, I shouldn't say he, the perpetrator. I have no information on the perpetrator, but the perpetrator was neutralized as well in that incident.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just showing some footage from local Detroit station. I just want to fast forward to some of the parts where the reporter starts to speak here. It's when it's dark here. So I'm going to put up the audio and just take a listen.
fire truck here, more first responders going in. We did, like you said, get an update from the Oakland County Sheriff, Michael Bouchard, just 10 minutes or so ago. He's hoping to give us another update soon. But from what he said one person came to the temple here, Temple Israel, and security did see him coming, and there was that exchange of gunfire. No one was hurt except for possibly the gunman. You can hear more sirens. This has been constant around here on this intersection. As for that gunman, the sheriff told us he is not in custody right now, and that search continues, which is why you were seeing it.
So this is where the conflicting reports come in, where this is a local reporter who's on the ground. This was just about 20 minutes ago, unless this perp was shot and then taken into custody. But she said she was getting this from the sheriff. So this is where stuff gets a little bit dicey when things are happening. Ed, we know.
Yeah, it's the fog of war, so to speak. But other agencies and federal law enforcement sources were saying that the suspect is dead at the scene.
Right. Let's take a listen.
This here, they are still trying to determine if anyone else was involved. So there is.
By the way, we know the screen is black. It's just the news reporter that's on the scene was giving us some updates that she got from the local sheriff. So I thought this was important. I'll leave Ed and I on so this way everybody could see us. But yeah, some of the people saying, "Oh, I just see a black screen." It's going to come back. The feed is going to come back. So let's just listen to what this reporter is saying.
A presence at a lot of the schools around here, a lot of the temples. We are told a 1 mile radius for people to shelter in place. There is a lot of parents that were showing up because of the children. Said I did ask the sheriff. He said yes, all the children were able to get out, all the employees. And that Jewish community center is the location for parents to come get their children. But a lot of people showing up here just frantic, walking down there trying to get some information. But again, just constant police presence and firefighters, first responders, SWAT. We saw the FBI, so many people showing up trying to help. It's been a little chaotic to try to get cars in and out. There was actually a tree cutting service over here. They had to get out, but just a constant response as they search for this gunman right now. And it's not clear where he is. They're trying to get video. They told us they're trying to get video from the temple to kind of give them some clues, but just so many people. Here's another city of Novi showing up here with tactical gear on. I'm gonna have my photographer kind of pan. You could just see it is constant, and compared to when we got out here an hour ago, they are now parking even farther down the road. But this is where we are told to wait for updates, so we're hoping to get another one from the sheriff very soon.
You know, when I look at this footage, Ron, it reminds me of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and the way all these emergency vehicles staged on West Street, creating these logjam, so to speak, of vehicles that you could hardly move around. And thank God in the 93 attack and hopefully this attack as well, there's no secondary explosive devices or anything like that spread around these locations that could hurt the emergency responders.
Yeah. So Just Say When is saying, is this suspect deceased? This is a local news station, and it is from a short period of time ago. So something developed since this report, but she, as you guys heard, was saying that she was speaking to the local sheriff. Now, maybe he had bad information. There's a potential for that, because what happens with these cases is that, as you see, the amount of resources responding, there's too many commanders, too many chiefs handling this thing. So maybe one person makes a statement and is unaware of another situation. But here, you look at this. I mean, you got guys in tactical gear. If the suspect is in custody, it doesn't mean that they wouldn't still do this, Ed.
They're still responding from all over.
Right.
I mean,
you alluded to the possible for a secondary person. It could be a second person, could be a third, could be a car with explosives in it. You don't know what's going on. But look, you see the chaos here.
Yeah, and that's it. In the initial stages of a response to this, you're going to have chaos. And, we used to say jokingly that chaos is an acronym for Chief Has Arrived on Scene. Yeah. Okay. And that's when all hell breaks loose. Right. Yeah. But that's why when we used to get calls from scenes like this, a crime scene, we knew that we couldn't trust the initial information. Right. Because, because of that chaos that's in the initial response, and the information at that time is unreliable.
Right.
Okay. So we knew to take what they were telling us over the phone as to what they believed transpired at that time with a grain of salt until we get out there to the scene. Organization occurs, structure begins to occur, and then, the investigators start to canvass areas, interview people, and a clearer picture of what happened will emerge by the time we get to the scene.
I do believe that there will be some sort of press conference in the near future, and then we'll get a little bit more clarity. Hopefully, sometimes these press conferences we don't get anything, but as you can see here, I'll go full screen. The audience can still hear us. Obviously, it does look like chaos, and this is a massive response. And it's not just only a massive response by.
I mean, it's like a terrible game of Tetris here with these vehicles. They're going to get to the point where they're not going to be able to move.
Right. And as you know from the Jewish community here, they have their own Hatzola, and a lot of these vehicles could potentially be some of their emergency response folks. And we see that regularly where there's lots of them coming up.
Yes, I can.
And I have some footage. I have some footage of them coming up as well and running up to help assist if there is a
No,
need.
we didn't give us a time, but as soon as I see them coming, I'll let you guys know.
She's talking about sheriff coming.
Okay.
She's talking to the control room. But yeah, look, nobody can get through here. This is a wrap because nobody's manning these vehicles. So when someone needs to get through or if someone needs to get out, it ain't happening. We've been there and done that, right?
Oh yeah, and all the after action reports that we do at these major incidents like this say, "Don't do this, don't do this." And yep, that ends up being the default.
Right. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to fast forward to some of the parts. This station is live outside that location. Here's a command post, a vehicle coming into play.
Given everything that's going on right now in the world, the Iranian situation and the threat of sleeper cells and domestic terrorism in the United States. You saw recently with the IEDs and the two teenagers, terrorists from Pennsylvania in the demonstration in Manhattan and so forth. We have to be looking at all of this with an eye on terrorism.
Yeah, this is Illinois, Bloomfield, West Bloomfield, Illinois, and it is the Temple Israel. Suspect, by some reports, is shot and killed. I don't know if he shot and killed himself or if the police shot and killed him. And then there was a report from this station, which is a local station, somebody on the ground. The reporter said she was getting information from the local sheriff that they're still looking for a perp. So everybody's confused, including us. We're going to be confused with you guys, but we'll get to the bottom of it. It's allegedly security at the location. They had their own private armed security engage this subject. Whether it was one person or more, we don't know. But this is a massive response to this scene. We don't even know if there's any casualties and so forth. And I'll get to the parents coming up, and they were actually being frisked. Did you see that, Ed?
Yeah. So far, no casualties that I've seen in several of the reports that I've been reading online. Again, right now the information is chaotic at best, and coming from different sources to different news agencies and conflicting.
Right. And let me correct myself. I said West Bloomfield, Illinois. It's Michigan. We're in Michigan, so that's my fault.
We're not too far from Detroit, and we're not too far from Dearborn either. I mean, we're 20 miles maybe tops.
Yeah. Yep. So it's West Bloomfield, Michigan, and again, this is a massive facility. We saw it from the helicopter. Smoke coming out. We don't know if there was devices rolled in there like what we saw in New York City that failed, or something to start. There's a massive fire going on inside that location. Definitely, from what we saw, that thick, dark smoke is indicative of that. So who knows? I don't. We don't have enough information to even get into it, but I'm going to switch gears, Ed. If you can, just go to the chat, see what people are saying. A lot of people are, confused because the reports are coming in and out. I'm just going to look real quick and see what some of the local stations are talking about as it pertains to this, because again, active and ongoing situation here. Couldn't even call it an investigation right now. I'm just calling it what we're seeing. Massive police response.
To be cautious of.
Let's just see. All right, so here's a good overhead map of this location. And you can see it's on a big piece of property, huge parking lot here.
Yeah, it's a big complex.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. So there's the overhead shot with the smoke coming out. This is from Fox 2. I believe they're local, so Fox affiliates are picking it up and putting it back out. Yeah, I definitely confused a lot of people with the Bloomfield, Illinois, but it's live TV where it's West Bloomfield, Michigan. And again, I'm going to pull up the website. It's a huge facility. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
So alleged the security, this is what early reporting is, the security exchanged gunfire with this perpetrator. And then initially they had said that the perpetrator was on the loose, but as we are seeing, and we are seeing different reporting that they're saying that the perp is in custody. Still seeing a massive response, which is what is interesting here is, Ed, in this shot, I don't know what time this was, but you don't really see a lot other than fire apparatus here.
Yeah, but I only see like one or two fire apparatus, and yet that place is on fire. Or there's some kind of fire in it. You do see, like I said, it has the anti-vehicle devices around entrances, but I don't think it's fully covering like in the grass areas over there.
We would see tracks, though, don't you think? We would see.
Yeah, you might see tracks around it, but I don't see where. I mean, the only area that seems to have any is that a drone that we're looking at now? Yeah, we're looking at a drone right by the tree there. Yep, right there.
Yeah. This is a playground here you see for the kids too.
Right. So I mean, that was pretty close to the smoke is pretty close to where the kids' playground is, and most likely the daycare there or area. If this was in fact a school too, maybe a kindergarten or pre-kindergarten or something of that nature.
Yeah. So a lot of people saying the news is reporting. Let's listen to this.
Again, if you're wondering how are people being secured, usually they want you further away from the building. So we're taking that into account as well. Again, there's very limited information on this right now, but this is a tape right now that we're looking at. So this was just a few moments ago when Sky Fox was in the area. There is a no-fly zone that's continuing to effort our crew.
That's definitely concerning. Hopefully they knocked that down and took care of it.
Yeah, I saw at least one hose line going in from another entrance.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the local that was live from the location. This is Click on Detroit, Local 4.
Hopefully we avoided a major terrorist attack here or hate crime.
Yeah, we're hoping and praying. Let's see what we got.
Way to let students and staff get home, get to their loved ones. There's school districts right now trying to figure out that gunman has been ultimately out. Sources are telling us at least one person, that alleged gunman, has been killed. Also, you have a large police presence, law enforcement presence from multiple agencies. There are school districts right now trying to figure out the safest way to let students and staff get home, get to their loved ones. You have the sheriff urging folks within a mile radius of that campus to shelter in place, as they could potentially be looking for a second person or second actor who may have been involved.
Yeah, so here's one of our friends, LB for Life, 63. Thanks for that. Suspect's car was on fire inside the building. But as Ed indicated, it didn't seem like there was any urgency of going into that building to put that fire out, right? I didn't see any hoses going in there.
I saw one line was stretched out from and going in through another entrance. I saw at least two or three fire apparatus that were by the building.
Yeah.
Given this traffic jam, I don't see how
Yeah.
you're going to get there.
Still waiting to process that to see if he can give some confirmation on whether or not there were multiple people involved. And you have a community that's rattled, confused,
a lot
upset.
of homes there.
By driving into it
Right, there you go.
was engaged by security. Engaged by security.
Trying to-
We believe was in.
I want to back it up.
Here's what going to be super preliminary stuff. And anytime you have a situation like this, information changes and evolves. Here's what we know so far. A car came to the facility, breached the facility by driving into it, was engaged by security. We believe there is one individual deceased in the vehicle. It's been complicated because there was some fire, to say the least, with that vehicle. We believe that individual is deceased. No kids. This is the important thing. No kids or no staff
Thank
is
God.
injured whatsoever. Okay. So we have no victims other than one of the lead security people was hit by the car and was taken to the hospital for treatment.
Here's a prime example, Ed, of when you have good guys with guns inside places like this. He immediately was immobilized and shot by the security. Now, security did get hit by this car ramming into the facility, but as you heard the sheriff say here, if there was no security there and it was just teachers and people, and this guy would have had free reign to do whatever he wanted. This could have been a nightmare. So
That individual should be okay. So far, that's our information to this point. We have agencies from all over. Obviously, AETF is here, FBI. More than likely, we'll be taking the lead on this based on some of the preliminary investigative information we have, but we're not going to go into that at this point. But we want to assure the community it doesn't appear to be anything active. We're still clearing the area. We're going to clear vehicles for any explosive devices, the building, etc. Unification of the families and the kids are in progress. We've accounted for everybody that we believe was in the building at the time. So we're on path to continue to maybe pivot to, is there anybody else involved, and the investigative side of what's happened.
So you can confirm that it was security that shot and killed the suspect here?
Well, we can't say what killed him at this point, but security did engage the suspect with gunfire.
Did the suspect have a weapon?
We can't get into a lot of that stuff, but he breached the building, drove down the hall, and he was engaged by security.
So do we know, did he
breached that building and drove down the hall. So that's why we saw the smoke coming from in deeper into the building. So he's able to drive this car into that building and down the hallway. Oh my God.
That's what it appears at this point.
What do we know about this fire?
Something ignited in the vehicle. That's a work in progress. We're, through an abundance of caution, clearing the vehicle for IEDs or any explosives. We've got a significant number of bomb dogs on site, bomb techs on site, and all of that's going to be done to check the boxes. We have deployed resources all across the county, just in case, out of an abundance of caution, that there may be a secondary site, but we don't have any information at this time to believe that. So we want people to take a breath. No one was hurt. We're on top of it. The chief and his team got here fast. Everything that was supposed to happen happened. Security did their job, and then the responders did theirs.
Was it a Michigan?
Sir, what did the call come out as?
I believe it came out as an active shooter.
Where and when did you actually neutralize the threat? Where was it?
The vehicle's in the hallway of the building, inside the
He
building.
was shot right there.
Again, I can't tell you what he died of until we get a little further. We haven't actually gone into the car. It's still being cleared.
So we do know that the security guard shot
They shot at.
them, but it's unclear if he was killed.
You know, situations like this, you never know if somebody's trapped sometimes to kill themselves. So The suspect was engaged. Is the clearest sentence I can give you.
What is the condition of the security officer?
From information I got, he should be okay. He was knocked unconscious.
So it's a different security officer who fired the shot.
There were multiple.
So here he's confirming that the security guard was not shot. He was hit by the vehicle and knocked unconscious, if I heard that correct.
Security officers on scene, and the one that was hurt was pulled from that area by his team.
Where's the car registered from? What?
We're not going to get into the specific in the car at this point.
You said what type of car it is, sir? A truck or an SUV?
It was
This is West Bloomfield scene, the sheriff's scene. I know everybody's here.
everybody's here. More than likely, based on a couple early pieces of information, the FBI may take the lead. That's yet to be formally determined.
Were there explosives in his vehicle?
That's yet to be cleared.
How much damage to the building from the fire?
That I can't even tell you.
Do you have
You
anything to
couldn't
say
even
about
see the hall was completely clear. We had to send people in with gas masks to clear that area.
Where are the kids going?
All the way in the building.
Do we know how fast he was going?
It's hard to say how fast. I mean, he was traveling with purpose and down the hall from my look at the video.
Yeah, so we know there's video right there. Obviously, this place has tons of video cameras. This facility's probably got, looking at it quick, I would say probably 300 cameras inside and out. Absolutely, a lot. At the facility I worked at, and Ed, you were there was over 182 cameras that we have in total inside. That doesn't even count outside. So you can bet your bottom dollar that there's a ton of video that we'll see in the days to follow of this guy coming in, and names and what his license plate is the questions they were asking. They asked if he had any explosive devices. Again, all that has to be done. Ed, you could talk about that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, now this is a full-blown crime scene investigation, and first they got to get rid of the threat. The first threat here was the fire. Well, obviously, the first threat was the engagement by security of that threat, which they neutralized and crashed his car into the building and went into the hallway, and the car was on fire. So now we have to find out, okay, what caused the fire? Was there an incendiary device in there? Was there some kind of IED inside the car? And then you're going to have to do a full-blown crime scene investigation, and there's going to be an autopsy to determine how the suspect was in fact killed. Did he die at his own hand, or did he die from injuries sustained by the security personnel, or the crash, or the fire? All of that will have to be determined upon autopsy. But then they're going to have to collect all the ballistics. They're going to have to scan all of this stuff. We're going to have to run the license plates on this vehicle to find out the registered owner, see who exactly this individual is, start doing searches of criminal and terrorist databases, see any connection. You're going to look at social media scrub on this individual, cell phone scrub, any kind of electronic scrub of the computers, emails, the whole 9 yards. See what kind of searching this person has been doing online. See who this individual is communicating with, so forth and so on. It's going to be quite extensive, and it's going to be all hands on. It's going to be local, state, and federal involved.
Let's listen to what these reporters gleamed from this. I just want to hear what they have to say.
Important things I want to point out that he said. Number one, obviously, no kids, no staff were injured in this, and also the FBI taking the lead on this.
I just want to remember too, we did hear that lead security guard.
Right. I was going to get to that. But
Oh,
yes,
I'm sorry, Jason.
It's all right. The security guard knocked unconscious is expected to be okay, but other staff, that's a good point to make because he is considered staff.
But he's okay.
He's all right. And the FBI is taking the lead on this based on preliminary info. So that suggests that they have some information that makes them think this is terrorist related.
Right.
Yeah.
We just got that update from Sheriff Bouchard and the police chief in West Bloomfield. Let's check in with our crime and safety expert, Darnell Blackburn. So Darnell, thank you for joining us this afternoon. You've been listening to this. Help break it down. What's your perspective hearing what the sheriff?
All right. So Ed, I want to just go to the chat real quick. And again, this is a sad reminder that we all have to, as you say, keep your head on a swivel and watch what's going on in your surroundings. If something doesn't seem right, you got to say something and you got to act. Like, here, I'll give you an example. I went to Sloan Kettering this morning to get my MRI, right? And there's a big sign inside Sloan Kettering, and it says no firearms allowed beyond this point. So I look to the security guys that are there. They're not armed. So huge facility, it's a center for cancer. I went in there with my gun. I'm not listening to that sign, because I'm going in there and I'm going to put my gun in a lock. And I know I had a locker to get, undressed and go in and get my MRI. 30 or 40 minutes, I'm in there and I'm out. But it just amazes me that a lot of these facilities say you can't, you can't bring a gun in here. And that would include me, because I'm retired. I'm able to legally carry it. But
yeah, well, there's exception for us, but for the general public, it's not. But it's a liability issue for places like that to deny somebody the ability to protect themselves with their licensed firearm if they are not providing armed security personnel to protect you while you're in their facility.
Yeah, and they're certainly not doing that, because I did look around and I could see that the security there was unarmed, and just blows my mind. But here we are, 2 shootings or two incidents in one day. The day's not over yet. And look, there's no coincidence. Look at what happened in New York City. Counter protesters against and for certain things. And now you have 2 guys that travel from Pennsylvania and rolling those bombs out. If those things exploded, there wouldn't have been that kumbaya where we saw those police officers and that executive up at the podium.
Well, we were very lucky. We were very lucky with those devices. If the preliminary investigation and preliminary testing at the scene are in fact accurate, that it was triacetone triperoxide, TATP, this is a very sensitive, high explosive. Okay, and any stimulus, such as just throwing the device to the ground, should have set it off. Throwing that package to the ground would have set it off. Okay, it could be set off by fire. Flame, mechanical impact, electrical sparking, and just about anything can set that particular type of hydrogen peroxide based explosive off. It's very sensitive. It's very dangerous. So the fact that it didn't go off when he threw it to the ground, and it didn't go off when the fuse went in it, leads me to certain conclusions, and I'm going to hold that close to my vest here, because I don't want that information going out to the general public.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ed, just again, I mean, sitting here just watching the coverage and just looking at, like you said, that massive response that we saw with police vehicles and other emergency vehicles. It did bring back memories of the World Trade Center and what we saw there, with, a massive response. So yeah, Fox News is all over it, the locals and others. This was from, a little while ago, but I just wanted to come back so the viewers could see the amount of smoke and chaos here, people running out of the building. This was, earlier on. You had this fire apparatus here with the ladder going up. I guess they were going to get up onto that roof and see what they could do there. But definitely a chaotic situation going on. And look, we're getting it as you guys are getting it. West Bloomfield, Michigan. Again, there was that mistake earlier on about, I was saying West Bloomfield, Illinois, obviously a mistake. West Bloomfield, Michigan, the Temple, Israel was the target today. What do you got up on the screen, Ed?
Okay, so we got a question here. DutyRon, would surrounding schools amp up their security when this happens? And the answer would be yes. In New York City, when stuff like this happens, we'll go to house of worship, all different denominations, and beef up security around those areas. in response to something like this, as well as schools. We'll have attention or roving patrols around schools. Now we have our school safety officers as well, but they are unarmed, and they have lockdown entrances and checkpoints and metal detectors in many of the schools, but not all of them. But we take this kind of information and we then deploy our officers accordingly to beef up security in response to something like this. And we've had 2 potential school attacks today, if you wish to consider it. One at Old Dominion University in Virginia, and then this particular synagogue.
And these are parents that are getting the notification earlier to come and pick their children up, and you're going to see them getting actual searched at the door, and then they're going to be allowed to go into a different part or different area of the facility to pick up their children. Very, very scary. We're living in a very dangerous time right now. And I think that we all know and realize that now more than ever. I keep saying it. And each time we have these shooting situations, I say it. You need to secure up places where our vulnerable are, our children, our elderly, our houses of worship, schools. Like someone said in the chat, Ed, is this the new norm? Are we going to have to put armed security in all of our schools? And
yes, we should have resource security officers at all of our schools. Aren't our kids that important? What is it? Just courthouses and elected official offices, then Capitol or whatever the case may be, that needs to be protected that way? Our most valuable resource, our most precious commodity, are our children. So they deserve the highest level of security we can provide. Okay, we have to fund that. We have to do what is necessary to protect them. Unless our society is going to change to go back to when it was when we were growing up and we didn't have these incidents, okay, which I don't see happening, then we have to do this.
Here's a look at the parents coming in and getting searched. This is, looks like even school administrator here. You see an ID tag hanging from him. Maybe part of the security. Oh, wait, there might be a gun on his hip there. This might be part of the security package. I don't know how many security officers paid were assigned to this location, but it's a massive school and house of worship. The synagogue is huge, and it said kindergarten until 12th grade. So interesting. I don't have the specifics on it, but yeah, that's from earlier. Very chaotic, and obviously parents are.
This probably has a yeshiva attached to it. It's such a big complex.
Huge. I mean, that drone shot is says it all right there. But yeah, so here we are, 2026. I was just like trying to get the contrast out of my system and drinking a bunch of water, and I popped the TV on with the missus. I saw the Old Dominion one, and I was thankful that there was no casualties there. And then I saw this and I said, you know what? I had no plans to come live, but I figured our community wants to know what's going on with this. And again, I apologize for the mistake in the Illinois, Michigan mistake, Bloomfield. That was earlier on. I know I'm going to get heat for that. So put it on record. That's part of live when you go real quick. And I didn't really do a lot of research. I just saw it happening. And I thought, we should get on the air and let folks know about this. So yeah, protect. And if you're in a situation like, again, I said before that, if they told me I couldn't come into the facility today into Sloan, I wouldn't have went in there if they told me I couldn't come in with my weapon, I would have left and come back. Ed, I got to take a call.
Okay. Yeah. It's sad that, we have to think like this these days, but our culture has changed. Our society has changed. And unfortunately, it's not for the better in terms of these things. Okay. Well, our mental illness is sky high. The internet, in my opinion, is the cause for a lot of this, and our society, making excuses for bad behavior and not holding people accountable for their bad behavior is also a part of this. again, the social media, the internet, and we learned so much during the COVID lockdowns about how this has affected our kids and what they're seeing on the internet and what is happening here. And it's a double-edged sword, that internet. And unfortunately, it's not about creating a police state. And I don't want to live in a police state, but we have to protect our youth. Okay. Our youth are the future. Okay. So, until we can get a grip on changing our society and changing and dealing with the mental illness issues and our cultural issues, we have to protect our youth, our children. And it's not just a gun issue, because this person used the vehicle as well. And if you live in a society that doesn't have access to firearms, the mentally ill and these really bad terrorists are going to find other means.
Yeah. And look, Ed, there's people who feel, the way we do and agree with what we're saying, but we don't expect everybody to agree with us. And here's Kay. KD says, I don't want cops with loaded guns where my children are. But guess what? If God forbid a situation like this happens, I would hope that you would want someone to defend and possibly take that gunfire first, rather than our children to take it. So I know that there's people that are just so against this, and I'm not highlighting that comment to go after Kay, and I thank you, Kay, for the comment, and I respect it. But again, if my grandchildren were going to school, in which I know in the future I will have grandchildren, God willing, I'd want them to be safe. Like you said, Ed, we just want to send our kids to school and know that they're going to come back home.
And listen, when I went to school, and we're talking in the 50s and the 60s, we used to walk to school, and the school could be miles away. Okay, and we used to be allowed to, if you lived close enough, to leave school for lunch and go home for lunch and come back. Okay, and walk back to school. Now, if you let your kids walk any distance to a school, you're considered a free-range parent, as if that is some kind of bad thing. That kids, mind you, I was one of 5 children, and I'm a boomer, and everybody in my neighborhood was a veteran from World War II and Korea and so forth. And we all had kids our same age, and we all worked to school together. We were like a mob of kids in my street, in my block, that we walked to school together. We walked home together. Okay. And in my neighborhood, I couldn't walk home without passing my mother's side of the family, all my aunts and uncles from my mother's side of the family, in that, maybe 3-block walk. Okay. So everybody knew everybody in my neighborhood. Everybody said hello to everybody. Any parent in my neighborhood couldn't discipline anybody else's kids. Everybody had everybody's phone numbers. If you messed up on the street, there was a phone call to your house before you got home. You were disciplined by that parent that saw what you did, good or, in that case, mostly bad. And then your parents knew about it before you got home.
Right.
It's just a different society today.
It's so different. Here's one for DutyRon and Ed. Thank you, Lauren. Kata, 12. She said, DutyRon and Ed, I'd prefer law enforcement who are fully trained to expecting our educators to. Yeah, look, there is hundreds of thousands of able-bodied law enforcement, retired, and people from all different trades within law enforcement that are retired, like correction officers, police, military, who are willing, ready, and able to defend our children and go into houses of worship and defend. Look, we saw that shooting in Texas many years ago. It's a viral video where a guy comes in, walks up, and just starts shooting. And what happens? The guy from the back, I think he was retired, had his sidearm on him along with other people inside the congregation, and they took the guy out. Right on video. We watched it. We watched it happen. But yeah, it's a different day and age, and I really feel strongly about a good guy with a gun will help protect against a bad guy with a gun. Here's another, again, medical related. I went to NYU Langone several months ago to get a sonogram of my thyroid cancer, Ed. And the lady who was doing my thyroid, the sonogram, she saw my gun on the side of my hip because I had to take my shirt off. And she said, "Oh, you can't have that in here." And I said, "Lady, I respect what you're saying, but I'm legally able to carry it." She goes, "But you can't bring that in here. I got to call security." I said, "Go ahead, call them. I'm not going to." I was already laying down. She was getting ready to do it. She never called the security. And I tried to calmly explain to her, like, if somebody was to come into this facility right now and we would, God forbid, start hearing gunshots, I would give you an opportunity to go and get to safety and engage the guy. You want somebody like that there, especially when you have kids or the vulnerable, people who are sick, elderly, people who can't fend for themselves. I just will never get that out of my head that people still to this day say, "Oh, well, we got to put the laws in place," and laws are made to be broken. If you put 100 pieces of legislation on where there's no guns, they're going to still get them.
Listen, you can have all the gun control laws in the world. The only people that follow gun control laws are the law-abiding. Criminals do not follow the law. That's what makes them criminals. All right. So when you're passing these gun control laws, okay, are they really affecting crime with guns? And the answer is no. It only limits the ability of the law-abiding to protect themselves.
I agree. I want to listen to this press conference because it seems like they had a better feed. That local Detroit station that I was playing, Click to Detroit or whatever, Click for Detroit, did not have a good feed. Let's see what they have here on this station because I want to be able to see his reactions.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Over there.
That's terrible.
Rube, can you hear me?
There he is.
There we go.
Mike, I was just saying that it is shot
With that vehicle.
neutralize this threat. These officers are critically important, and you do this kind of work all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And it's sad we've come to this, but
Mike, we'll have to go right to the sheriff. We'll come back to you. Okay?
Everybody set?
Here's Mike Bouchard, the sheriff of Oakland County.
Okay, so again, this is all going to be super preliminary stuff. And anytime you have a situation like this, information changes and evolves. Here's what we know so far. A car came to the facility, breached the facility by driving into it, was engaged by security. We believe there is one individual deceased in the vehicle. It's been complicated because there was some fire, to say the least, with that vehicle. We believe that individual is deceased. No kids, this is the important thing, no kids or no staff was injured whatsoever. Okay, so we have no victims other than one of the lead security people was hit by the car and was taken to the hospital for treatment. That individual should be okay. So far, that's our information to this point. We have agencies from all over. Obviously, ATF is here, FBI. More than likely, will be taking the lead on this based on some of the preliminary investigation.
She knew that I was a retired detective. She asked me, and I told her.
Information we have, but we're not going to go into that at this point. But we want to assure the community it doesn't appear to be anything active. We're still clearing the area. We're going to clear vehicles for any explosive devices, the building, etc. Unification of the families and the kids are in progress. We've accounted for everybody that we believe was in the building at the time. So we're to continue to maybe pivot to, is there anybody else involved, and the investigative side of what's happened.
And so you can confirm that it was security that shot and killed the suspect here?
Well, we can't say what killed him at this point, but security did engage the suspect with gunfire.
Did the suspect have a weapon?
We can't get into a lot of that stuff, but he breached the building, drove down the hall, and he was engaged by security. Preliminarily, we have some information, but nothing that we confirm, so we're not going to go into it. He drove in through doors. with a vehicle.
There's only one person in that vehicle?
That's what it appears at this point.
What do we know about this fire?
Something ignited in the vehicle. That's a work in progress. We're, through an abundance of caution, clearing the vehicle for IEDs or any explosives. We've got a significant number of bomb dogs on site, bomb techs on site, and all of that.
So you heard what he said, Ed. Something ignited in the vehicle. So
Yeah, and you don't bring a bomb dog into a post blast or a post incendiary scene.
yeah.
Going to be done to check the boxes. We have deployed resources all across the county, just in case, out of an abundance of caution, that there may be a secondary site, but we don't have any information at this time to believe that. So we want people to take a breath. No one was hurt. We're on top of it. The chief and his team got here fast. Everything that was supposed to happen happened. Security did their job, and then the responders did theirs.
Was it a Michigan vehicle?
Sure, what did the call come out as?
I believe it came out as an active shooter.
Where and when did you actually neutralize the
The vehicle's in the hallway of the building, inside the building. Again, I can't tell you what he died of until we get a little further. We haven't actually gone into the car, so it's still being cleared.
So we did know that the security guard shot this.
They shot at
them, but it's unclear if he was killed.
In situations like this, you never know. If somebody's trapped, sometimes they kill themselves. So the suspect was engaged. Well, just to say it's the clearest sentence I can give.
I like that he gave all possibilities. He said sometimes they kill themselves, sometimes they get killed by responding police or security. That was good that he did that because it answered the question for the reporter.
From the information I got, he should be okay. He was knocked unconscious.
So it's a different security officer who fired the shot.
There were multiple security officers on scene, and the one that was hurt was pulled from that area by his team.
Where's the car registered from? What?
We're not going to get into the specifics on the car. It was a truck.
It was a truck. He said it was a truck.
Yeah. He confirmed it was a truck. Yeah, we missed that in the first one.
Scene, I know everybody's here.
Everybody's here, more than likely, based on a couple early pieces of information. The FBI may take the lead. That's yet to be formally determined.
I can almost guarantee that those armed security guards are retired cops. I would put my pension on that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's yet to be cleared.
How much damage to the building from the fire?
That I can't even tell you. And you couldn't even see that the hall was completely clear. We had to send people in with gas masks to clear that area.
What are the kids doing?
All the way in the building.
Do we know how fast he's going?
It's hard to say how fast. I mean, he was traveling with purpose down the hall from my look at the video.
This could have been a far worse situation considering the severity of it, him getting into the building, whatever may have been in the vehicle. Talk about just the response, those security guards, and how this could be far worse than what we're reporting and seeing right now.
No, absolutely. In fact, what I would tell you is that I am deeply proud of the response, not only from the security that was on site, but also of all the police officers and the firefighters that are here right now. We train on active shooter events a lot. The county has a consortium, OTAC, that trains the entire county on active shooter tactics, and that's something that we believe in and that we support, and I think that training certainly helps to mitigate what happened here today.
And the chief has been in contact with all of the facilities for weeks, and not just on the last couple of weeks, but constantly forever. But in the last couple of weeks, even a lot more integrated communication. I mean, there are ways, and all of the agencies in Oak County are partnering with their religious institutions and schools. And anytime there's a concern, there's communication, there's extra patrol, extra attention, extra warnings. That had all happened for the weeks leading up to this. And the team inside that building was very queued up. And I know the chief had communicated directly with their head of security weeks ago.
Was there any directed threats at this specific temple?
There was no specific chatter about any institution or facility in Oakland County, but they were all on alert.
Sure, if we see vehicles leaving, if they often get
I think given the fact of what's going on in the world, I think everybody across the United States should be on alert. Ed, wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, if ever we need to see something, say something, now's the time. All right, everybody should be on a high alert. Every citizen, every member of society. Okay, walking around our streets these days. If you see something that's suspicious, if it stands out to you, if it makes you scratch your head and say, maybe pick up the phone and make a call. If it turns out to be nothing, no harm, no foul. But if it turns out to be something, you could have probably avoided something like this.
And this police executive, both these executives said that they've been, planning and training for this stuff, and they were well prepared. So kudos to them for keeping themselves ready at the ready. And I'm sure that in many, many other locations across our great country, the United States, law enforcement are doing the same thing. I know NYPD, we do it day in and day out. This is not just something that happens now, but they're definitely everybody's stepping up their security plan. Look, what is it? The Oscars that are happening soon. So they're stepping up security there for that as well. I saw that, I think, this morning. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think it was they mentioned the Oscars and that they were shoring up their security plan.
all clear been issued? Is shelter in place still in?
It's still in place until we clear vehicles and make sure there's no IEDs or other secondary potential. But we believe there's nothing active at the moment.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So it's likely that there could be another press conference here, maybe within the next 2 hours.
Okay.
Like that. Yep.
Okay.
All right, so there you have it, Ed. We're going to wrap it up. I want to just also remind everybody in the chat, this is our coverage of it. We can always agree to disagree, and we welcome everybody here wholeheartedly. It doesn't matter if you feel differently about what our views are, but at the end of the day, if you can't voice the way you feel about things, then what do we got? So this is where we're at. And I hope that we don't see any more of this in the future. But unfortunately, we've covered one too many of these things. And given the light of what's going on around the world, we may be unfortunately seeing more of this. I hope not, and I pray not. So thank you for that. Ed, final words.
Well, let's just pray that we pray that this doesn't happen more frequently than it's currently doing. We pray we can get a handle on these issues that are in our society and in our culture that creates these things, and figure out a solution and stop it. Yes, I don't want to live in a police state, but I don't want my nation's children to be massacred either. Okay. This is beyond a gun issue. Okay. It's not the gun. Take away the gun, they'll find another way to do their craziness. Okay. And we see this in other instances around the world as well. So let's just pray together and stay together and keep our heads on that swivel, as Ron said earlier, so that if we see something, we say something, and we report these things to the police to investigate. And if it turns, as I said, if it turns out to be nothing, no harm, no foul. But if it turns out to be something, you did your duty as a good member of our society, and potentially stopped bad things like this from occurring.
Amen to that, brother. Thank you, Ed. I appreciate those words. Again, this has been our coverage from the incident that happened, exchange of gunfire, we believe, inside and outside of the Temple Israel in West Bloomfield, Michigan. So this has been live breaking coverage. I appreciate everybody being here. look for us live again if something breaks or if there is any movement in the Nancy Guthrie case. We've been covering that. Thank you to everybody who's newly subscribed. If you're not yet subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button and giving us the thumbs up. These aren't easy topics to cover and talk about because everyone's got different opinions on it. But it's something that needs to be talked about because it is affecting all of us. So on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we want to thank you for being here, and we will catch you on the next one. Stay safe, and God bless.